Greetings, this is Foul and Hard. We've had enough time with Scarlet and Violet now, I think, where I can accurately say my opinions on the starters. And honestly, I'd say Scarlet and Violet have arguably one of the strongest lineups of starters we've ever had. And from what I've seen from watching other people's opinion videos on the new Pokemon and from Let's Plays, that opinion seems to be very much commonplace. I don't really agree that the Pokedex in general is one of the strongest we've had. I personally think the last 3 generations are stronger, but it is a good Pokedex. I don't dislike it by any means. There's some really good ones in there. And from the last time I did my own list, there's a few Pokemon in there that have grown on me. Flamigo's a really interesting one. I've got a feeling Flamigo is going to be a Pokemon I'm going to end up really liking, because I have used it since, and it's actually surprisingly really good. Its major problem is its design. It's not bad. It's not good. It's very uninspired. It is the most not a Pokemon out of any Pokemon we've ever had. It would look more in place on a brochure to the Bahamas than it would as in a Pokemon game. So yeah, but I've got my own headcanon. Like I've picture a bunch of them lining up doing like Tai Chi and things, and that works for me to kind of enjoy them. There's also a derpy nature to the Pokemon that I quite enjoy. I like derpy Pokemon. So Flamigo's one that's definitely grown on me, but I would not necessarily, I'd say it was good. I would put it in this category down here. They're alright. When prior, I think I put it in like in the bin or dislike. So the categories, we've got adore. To me, adore is a word that means more than love. Like adore is my version of love. When I really love something, I fucking adore it. It's something that just fills me with joy and glee and just good times, right? So when it comes to Pokemon I adore, I could not imagine the game without them anymore. If they're an option that I have to use or I really, really want to use. They are some of the best Pokemon that ever made. They are one of the Pokemon that makes me wish Pokemon were actually real and not just a video game, right? Top tier. Pokemon that are really good. Like, really good. I've got nothing wrong with them to say about them whatsoever. They're fantastic. They don't quite hit the levels of Adore, but they are brilliant. They're okay. They're neutral. I like them. Generally speaking, neutral for me for Pokemon is I like it. You know, it's not a case of I neither like nor dislike it. It's like, no, I like it. I don't feel strongly about it. You know what I mean? We've got dislike. This is a Pokemon I just don't like. I've not got anything really against it. I just don't like it. And then we've got in the bin. Not quite hate. There's only 2 Pokemon in the entire series that I actually hate. But in the bin is Pokemon that are just I really don't like them. They're really bad. I would rather that they either went back to the drawing board and redesigned them, or did something to them. Like they're really bad. I do not like them. So yeah, you're wondering what the colors are. Green is my favorite color. Brown is my second favorite color, but we don't have that option. So I've got my third, which is purple. Dark grey is actually a colour that I really like. It goes with a lot, but it does not stand out on its own, which I think is a very fitting category for neutral. Blue is actually a colour that I dislike. I don't hate it, I just dislike it. And I dislike it for the same reason a lot of women hate the colour pink, because it's like one of the only options we have as men in clothing. We have like black, white, beige, grey, and blue. So, like, blue is the only real color we typically have in a lot of clothing, and it's boring as fuck. And then we've got red. Red is a color I do not like. So, that's why we've got that there. Plus, it's a very dire color, which I think suits the palette. So, this was, prior to me doing this was not organized. So, I've organized them. So, we're about to jump in, and we're going to go through Pokemon all the way from the first to the last generation. And we're going to do all the stages, because my opinion on the Pokemon changes via stage. Alright, let's start off. Bulbasaur. The best Pokemon of Generation 1 in terms of starters. And also the best choice. Bulbasaur is great. He's adorable. I've got a lot of nostalgia with him because of the series at the time. And there's nothing wrong with him. I like how he's not just a thing. Like, he's not just a duck. He's not just a rabbit. He is a Pokemon. There's nothing really that looks like that. I mean, he kind of looks like a frog, but what frogs have feet like that? You know, he is a Pokemon. He is a mixture of a variety of different ideas, like, all rolled into one. He's not a specific animal. And that becomes increasingly a rarity as the series goes on. I really like Bulbasaur. I think he's great. He's by far the best option to choose when you're playing the game, and he's very much, I believe, to me, Bulbasaur is the Ravenclaw of Gen 1. Everyone chooses Gryffindor or Slytherin. And then we have the hipsters that choose Ravenclaw. And to me, Bulbasaur is the Ravenclaw. It's the best one. Although these days I'm more of a Hufflepuff guy. And no, it's not because of Fantastic Beasts. But he is the best one, but he doesn't get the recognition he deserves. Ivysaur is Bulbasaur, but better. And this is actually the weird thing about Generation 1. Generation 1 is the only generation I really think, I could be wrong as we go on, but Generation 1 is the only generation in which the starters, the middle stage is actually better than the first stage. Because generally speaking, the middle stage is just the first stage, but cooler, but better, but there's more going on with it, and it's not over-designed. Like, as the series goes on, the second stage tends to be outright fucking hideous or just awkward. But in Generation 1, the second stage is by far cooler than the first. It is the cooler version of its cute basic form, which is something very unique about Gen 1. In fact, one thing about Gen 1 in general is that all the forms are great. Stage 1, 2, and 3, all of them are fantastic. And then we've got Venusaur, which at one point in history, I would have put him here. At one point in history, I would have put him here and here. I used to really like Ivysaur. Venusaur has gone up and down all the time for me, but I generally think he is top tier. At this point, I think Venusaur is top tier, and it for many years, it was my favorite grass starter. But it's kind of been overshadowed, and I think on top of that, I'm just kind of sick of Gen 1 in general. So a lot of Gen 1 Pokemon that I used to really adore have kind of trickled down in recent years. In fact, Eevee is no longer my favorite Pokemon anymore. Hawlucha has actually taken over. Hawlucha is my currently favorite Pokemon. I'm kind of sick of Eevee as well. I love Eevee. I adore the evolutions, but I'd rather have like Umbreon or Vaporeon or Jolteon over Eevee itself. I'm kind of bored with Gen 1 in general, so a lot of the Gen 1 Pokemon have just kind of gone down with me because I'm so sick of the exposure. Speaking of which, Charmander. I like Charmander. I do like Charmander. At one point it was my major choice, before I tried Bulbasaur out for the first time, but it's okay. I like it. I've got a lot of nostalgia with it again, but it's okay. I forget its name. Chameleon. He's cool. He's cool. He's a lot cooler than Charmander. He's more of a complete design. And to be honest, I think a lot of this is the new render. They redesigned a lot of the original Pokemon as it went on. And the original form of Charmander is way cooler. It's way cooler than this. But yeah, like that doesn't exist anymore. So if I use a Charmander now, this is what I'm getting. I'm not getting the original one, I'm getting this one. And so I don't really count that anymore. I'm counting what we've got now, not what we had, because what we had doesn't matter anymore. Unless you go back and play those old games. So Charmander is cool, but he's too rounded. He's too, Charmeleon adds a lot more of the edge back to it, and it just looks more like a complete Pokemon. Charmeleon's great. I really like it. Don't like it as much as the Bulbasaur line, but I do like it. Charizard is really fucking hard to place, because the fact with Charizard is I still like it. It is really, really hard to... it is really, really hard to not like a dragon. Especially a traditional Western dragon like that. There's something about dragons and Western dragons that make them some of the coolest, most badass, most interesting, most mystical creatures in like mythology and folklore. Especially Western dragons. I like Eastern dragons as well, but there's something more, there's something stronger about Western dragons, something more intimidating. Eastern dragons are more mystical. There's something to look up to. Western dragons are something to be feared, to be stood in awe of. And it's a Western dragon. And its shiny is one of the coolest shinies in the history of the series. But it is so goddamn overexposed. Every generation since Generation 6, we've had something Charizard. Okay, not Generation 7, I think, but we've had something Charizard. There's again, Scarlet and Violet. The first event we have, well, we get a special edition Pikachu. Okay, I get the original generation Pokemon Yellow, like flying fucking Pikachu distribution. I get it. It's the Mickey Mouse of Pokemon. It's boring as fuck. I don't really like Pikachu that much. Eevee, the first proper event we had in terms of the raids was an Eevee event, which was great for me as somebody that loves the evolutions, but again, of course, it's fucking Eevee. And then the first major challenging goddamn raid we had was, of course, a fucking Charizard. And it's just like, in Generation 6, Charizard took over because it had a fucking not one but two Mega Evolutions. In Generation 8, we had, like, the major champion's big dude was a Charizard. It's like, okay, we're done. We're sick of it. Charizard's done. And taken on its own, a few years ago, Charizard would be here, right? In more recent games, Charizard is here. But taken as a whole, I kinda like him. I do really like him. But it pains me to put him so high. I do really like him. But I'm fucking sick of him. You know what I mean? I'm so conflicted about Charizard. I really like it. It's really cool. It's really badass. It's a really cool Pokemon, but I am so fucking sick of it. We have, what, 9 generations of starters now, and the only one that ever gets any special treatment whatsoever is Charizard. Greninja had a bit of that, but as soon as Generation 6 was over, Greninja got thrown into the bin with the rest of them. Ugh. Squirtle. I don't dislike Squirtle. The problem with Squirtle is I don't care about it that much. It's okay. It's like... In fact, I actually probably like I probably like Squirtle a little bit more than I like Charmander. But it's okay. Bulbasaur is the better choice, and in general, and I like its design more. Charizard is very contentious these days, but a dragon is cooler than a turtle with cannons on its back. And on top of that, water is my favorite type. There's so many options for water Pokemon in Gen 1 that are better than Squirtle. We've got Lapras, we've got Slowbro, we've got Starmie, Staryu, whichever one's the evolution. We've got Vaporeon. We've got... God, what else have we got? There's so many really good Gen 1 water types. Gyarados. there's so many good, like, water is my favorite type, and I realized that in Generation 2 when most of the Pokemon I wanted to add to my team were water types. I have done mono water type runs in most of the generations. I didn't do it in Gen 5 because it's very difficult, but in most generations I've done a mono water type run. Water is great, and it's never really gonna be Blastoise unless I'm doing a water type run specifically. Wartortle is a lot cooler than than Squirtle, and then Blastoise is also a lot cooler than Wartortle, but they're okay. I don't dislike it. They're okay. They're cool. They're fine. But I don't feel very strongly about it, which I know will piss off a lot of people, but to me, Gen 1 is very, very well defined as being the Bulbasaur generation. Moving on to Generation 2. Generation 2 is a generation that's actually kind of creeped down for me over the years. I used to say that Soul Silver and Heart Gold were the best games in the series, but upon replaying them recently, and upon looking through the Generation 2 new Pokemon list, it actually hit me just kind of how many Pokemon from Gen 2 are kind of meh. Gen 2 is full of a lot of meh new Pokemon. Or Pokemon that would only be good later on with new iterations, such as Murkrow, or Stantler, or Girafarig, which is only recently worthwhile. It's got so many Pokemon in Gen 2 that are just kind of like useless for a long time. Or the Pokemon that are good, you can't really get until either endgame or post-game. It's mostly just Generation 1.0. That's kind of what Gen 2 is. You can tell that they felt like Pokemon was over at that point, and they were preparing to end it. Because it's really just more of the same, but better than Gen 1. But, honestly, looking back, Gen 3 was peak Pokemon. In all honesty, Gen 3 was peak Pokemon, and it wouldn't get better until Gen 5. And unfortunately, as amazing as Chikorita is in the anime, which it is, I'm going to put it here. It's terrible in game. It is without question the worst starter choice you can choose in any of the games. It's so sad. And I kind of wish Chikorita was the choice that they had for Arceus to give it a bit of life, because it needs some form of love, it needs some form of revamp, because Chikorita is just useless. It is the choice you make in Pokemon Gen 2 when you want to challenge yourself, because it is a bad Pokemon. It's got better over the years, but it's bad. And it's the only starter that I can honestly say is just bad. I dislike Meganium. Sorry, I dislike whatever this is, because this is just the cooler version of that. And again, it's a plant dinosaur. I like it, but it's just bad. It's just bad. I dislike this because it doesn't have the cute factor that Chikorita does, and it's not as well designed as this. I can't even remember its name, because that's Meganium. I can't even remember its name. It's just kind of and again, we're now getting into the middle stages being kind of awkward, unfortunately. It's a shame, because I like it in the anime. It was a really memorable part of the anime, but in game it's useless, completely useless. You're better off with any other grass-like choice. I would even recommend fucking Jumpluff over this fucking thing. Next, we've got the first Fire-type Pokemon for many years that I'll actually like, and that's Cyndaquil. Oh, this is difficult. I'm going to put it here. I like Cyndaquil. I think Cyndaquil is adorable. And unlike its later evolutions, I think Cyndaquil without the fire in 3D is actually still kind of cute because of its rounded design. Cyndaquil's just cute. It's adorable. It's one of the... I think it's like the first starter that you just kind of want to pick up and really hug, that you feel as if you could. I think Cyndaquil is adorable. I really, really like it. It's not usually my choice in Gen 2, but I do really like Cyndaquil. Quillavor is a great second stage. Yeah, I'd put it about on par with Charmeleon. In fact, I'd probably put it a little bit higher than Charmeleon. I don't like it as much as I like Cyndaquil, but again, it's got that cuddly factor to it. Yeah, I really like it. I think it's just basically, it's the perfect middle stage. It's Cyndaquil but longer and more serious, and it's Typhlosion, but you know, and not as cool. And yeah, Typhlosion. I like Typhlosion. It's really, it was my first choice playing Gen 2 until I chose Totodile and never went back. It's good. It's good, and many people will say it is the best option, possibly. Again, for the same reason that, you know, I wouldn't really usually pick a water type in Gen 2 because, well, for the same reason, like, my argument against Blastoise is going to, like, fire back at me right now, but it is the best choice for Gen 2, definitely. Because there's a lot of good options for water types, there's not many great options for fire types, and it's generally a really good Pokemon. Typhlosion's great, a lot of personality, simple but effective design, which was common at that point in the series, and would kind of be the case until Gen 4. I don't feel as passionate about Lee as the other one, but really looking through the list here, it's probably one of the fire type Pokemon. Yeah, it's the only like Gen 1 and 2 are the only fire type Pokemon stars that I'm gonna like for a while. So yeah, I like Typhlosion. Up next we've got Totodile. This for the longest time was my favorite starter. It's not the case anymore, but it's definitely one of my top 3. Totodile is adorable. I usually name mine Crikey because I grew up watching Steve Irwin as a kid. And I adore him in the anime. His little dance is adorable. His voice in the anime was pure perfection. I love him in the game. And there's absolutely nothing bad that I can say about Totodile whatsoever. The only negative I can say about Totodile is that he's a water type. And I want to use water types all the fucking time. Again, Gen 2 is when I found out that I actually really want to use water types. Again, there's you run into Mudkip later on down, not Mudkip, shit, what's its name? The pre-evolved form of Quagsire, Wooper. You run into Wooper. I want to use Wooper. Wooper's a great Pokemon. Later on, you run into Slowpoke. I want to use Slowpoke. Slowpoke's a great Pokemon. You can get Poliwag. Again, Poliwag's great. I'd love to use Poliwag, especially now that Politoed exists. I love Politoed. Politoed is amazing. And then later on you get an Eevee. Well, my favorite evolution is Vaporeon, so I want to turn it into that. Can you see where the problem arises? Later on you get a free Lapras. It's like, Generation 2 is like halfway through the game. A lot of the Pokemon that I really want to use is just water type, water type, water type, water type. And I almost never can unless I'm doing a mono water run because I'm always, with the odd exception, using Totodile. I adore this Pokemon. It is adorable, it is brilliant, and yeah. And again, I'm just going to skip ahead. The same thing goes for Feraligatr. I love it. I love its design. I love its expression. I love it in game. It's not the best. Typhlosion is the best choice, but I love it. I think it's fantastic. I think its transition to 3D is great as well. It does lose a lot of its personality. A lot of the prior 3D Pokemon do, unfortunately, especially the really early ones. But I love it. I think it's fantastic. It, for many, many years, it was my favorite starter. Croconaw, I go up and down on all the fucking time. Sometimes I put it down here, legitimately. Sometimes I put it up here. It really depends. It looks better in its official art than it does in game, especially in 3D. So I do kind of like the caveman look. In fact, its weird placed spike here at the back, where it kind of looks like they stopped drawing. They wanted to do the spines all the way down, but realized they couldn't, and thought this one look. It's like this one at the back looks a bit off, but just the head would also look a bit off. So they put that there just to try and balance it out, and it just looks weird. That bugs me more than the caveman thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it down here, because I think I like it. I do like it. But I go up and down on it all the time, and it really depends on my mood in that given day. So Croconaw is down there, unfortunately. But the first and the final stage of Feraligatr is mwah, pure perfection. I absolutely adore it. Speaking of pure perfection, Trico. I love Trico. And it wasn't until I discovered the glories of Mudkip that like Trico was my favorite choice. I think it's a great Pokemon. Again, I adored it in the anime. It was fantastic. Big personality, much like Totodile. Massive personality. And it gets way cooler when it comes to its second stage. Yeah, about there. The second stage evolution of Trico remains the coolest second form in the history of Pokemon. It is so sleek. It is Trico but better. It is sleek. It is agile. It is badass. It is cocky. It is beautiful. I love it. It's so good. Keep in mind that this was somebody who grew up watching things like Jurassic Park. I had a major love for Velociraptors. I used to pretend to be one as a kid. Like, I love it. And this is just the color. Like, the colors. The only way I would like this more is if the red was like a brown or an orange. Then I'd like it more. And if the eyes were like purple or something. But its design is so sleek and lovely and beautiful. I love it. And it loses so much that when it evolves. This is sleek and agile and beautiful and powerful and everything I want out of a gliding lizard Pokemon. This is awkward as fuck. It's so awkward. It's got this weird shaped head, its derpy looking face, these weird things that come off the side of the arms, the giant tree for a tail, the weird waist thing as well that doesn't look as good because it doesn't have that bit up here that connects it. The same problem as actually Croconaw. It looks so awkward. Now, since the transition to 3D and the existence of its Mega Evolution, I actually really like it. I do like it a lot more than I used to. At one point in history, it was down here. And it was down here purely because I like this so much. That I felt like I was ruining it when I evolved it. I hated it that much. But over time, it's gone up and up. And I'd say it's about here at this point. I still don't love it. I still think Grovyle is the coolest form of Trico. And with the exception of, like, if I didn't really want the power or the Pokedex, I would never evolve it, because this is still the coolest form. But this is actually a Pokemon that has been improved since 3D. Sceptile in 3D looks better than it used to. And again, especially with the addition of the Mega Evolution, Sceptile is actually pretty great. But this is way better. Next, we've got Torchic? Yeah, Torchic. This is gonna piss off people. I don't really like Torchic. The reason why I don't like Torchic is quite simple. It is Squirtle +1. Generation 3 will be the strongest starter lineup for a while, in my opinion. And it's got two really strong entries. We've got Trico and we've got Mudkip. Two of the best starter Pokemon to ever exist. And then we've got Torchic. Now, I like Torchic. I've used it. It's good. I've used it more than I've used Squirtle. It is good. But it just pales. If Torchic was in any other generation, I'd probably use it more. But because it's next to such two strong entries, it kind of pales. A lot of people dislike this Pokemon. This Pokemon looks better now than it used to. I forget its name. It's not Blaziken, that's the final one. I do actually really like it. I think it's pretty great. Yeah, I'm gonna put it top of their okay. So yeah, I do quite like it. It adds a lot of personality. This is better than this because this is just a derpy ass chick. This is a lot cooler. You can see the fighting type coming into it. You can see like the cockfighting thing coming into it. Very cool. It's very, very cool. I do quite like it. And then we've got Blaziken. What amuses me about Blaziken is that one of the arguments that a lot of people have, one of the complaints that a lot of people have in new Pokemon is that they all become bipedal, overly humanoid Pokemon that loses a lot of the interesting aspect because of their animal nature. And honestly, I think Blaziken shows this as well. But a lot of people don't give a shit about this because Blaziken was far enough ago to be nostalgic and might even be a lot of people that are playing now their first Pokemon. So a lot of people do not place that same criticism they place on a lot of modern Pokemon than they do with Blaziken. Blaziken has the same fucking problem to me that Sceptile does, where to me, this kickboxing chicken is so much cooler than whatever the fuck this is. I would like it more if it had wings. I think that's what it is. I think if this had wings instead of arms, and they really pushed the whole kickboxing element of it, I'd like it more. I think it's the weird hands and like the very non-chicken looking face that kind of makes it. It looks weird to me. It looks off. And that's kind of why I kind of dislike it. In fact, no, I don't dislike it. It's okay. It's okay. But I'm going to put it here. Yeah, I think it's okay. The problem I have with it is its face is weird. Its arms are weird. The legs are great. The hair is great. But it feels lacking to me. I feel as if Blaziken is actually a Pokemon they do a lot better if they redesigned it to the more modern Pokemon conventions. Again, that is not going to be a popular opinion. In fact, I've got friends who Blaziken is like their favorite Pokemon. That is not going to be a popular opinion, but I just do not like it that much. Again, it's okay. When I say I don't like it, I don't... Like, this is Pokemon I really don't like. And this is Pokemon I can't fucking stand. We've got none in there just yet. But Blaziken, I like it. It's okay. Again, I think Gen 3 is one of the highest top tier roasters that we've ever had in Pokemon. It's really strong. But I don't really like Blaziken that much. Now, I hear you like Mudkips. Because I most assuredly do. Mudkip is the choice. And if we had an option in a new Pokemon game to choose any starter, it's going to be between Mudkip and another Pokemon that's coming up later on down the line. Mudkip is one of my top 3 like favorite starters in the entire fucking series. I love Mudkip so much. I'd go as far as to say that Mudkip is probably Mudkip is number 2. Mudkip is my second favorite starter in the series. I love him. I love him in the anime. He's got this... I think what I like about Mudkip is people think it's derpy, but it's not. It's got this very unassuming intelligence, where it's like, it's not Quagsire. It's not stupid. It's not derpy. There's an intelligence there. It's just very understated. It'll look at you, and it knows you. It knows you. It's going to have a very vacant expression on its face, but there's more going on behind there than you really know. I love Mudkip. Marshtomp is a bit awkward. I think it's probably a little bit worse than Croconaw in terms of its design. And it's mainly these wing flaps at the back here. That's kind of the problem with it. The wing flaps at the back. I think it would look better if they were either on the arms or on its back itself. On the legs, they look a bit weird. But it looks fine. And then we have fucking Marshtomp, which is, in my opinion, in every possible way, probably the best or one of the best starters you could choose. Now, I have a strong love of water types. Water is my favorite type. I realized this in Generation 2. And I realized in Generation 4 that I also kind of really like a lot of ground types. A lot of ground types are like have a real special place in my heart, even if they're not very good. And the water-ground combination is without question one of the strongest combinations in the game. I think the only stronger combination at the top of my head is probably either Steel Furry or like Flying Electric. It's a really good combination. A fucking amazing defensive combination with a great move pool. Not varied, but the options it does have are very, very good. Swampert is without question the choice I always use now in Generation 3 because it is fan-fucking-tastic. Now, the only problem with using Swampert, and Trico for that matter, is that I can't really use Ludicolo, which is one of my favorite Pokemon in Gen 3, without kind of redoing one of the types at least once. But Swampert is fantastic. It's big, it's powerful, it looks, again, it's got the Bulbasaur effect. Because, okay, here's the thing. We've got whatever the fuck that is. We've got a Pokemon here. We've not got an animal, we've got a Pokemon. We've got a lizard dragon. Okay, we know what that is. We've got, let's see, what was the other one? We've got a turtle. Alright? Gen 2. We've got a leaf. Right? A leaf. We've got a dinosaur here. Okay? You could say the same thing about this, but there's no dinosaur out there that really looks like this. Especially in the face. There are dinosaurs that look like that. Doesn't have the antennae, but there are dinosaurs that look like that. Bulbasaur, Venusaur doesn't really look like a dinosaur to me, especially if you get rid of if you don't count the face, which is the most distinctive feature of it in an animal way, right? We've got an alligator, okay, or a crocodile, okay. We've got a shrew or a ferret, something like that, a mongoose. We've got a chicken, loses it in its final stage, but that's also when it goes downhill for me. We've got a gecko, a lizard like a tree gecko. And then we've got... Now, I know it's based on an axolotl. But what fucking axolotl looks like that? That looks nothing like an axolotl. This is a Pokemon that has got the concept of an animal and really gone further. This is a bipedal kind of crocodile beast. Okay. This is a bipedal kind of lizard beast. Okay. This is a dragon, you know, this like... But this looks nothing like an axolotl aside from a few distinguishing features. This stands out. You know, and I love it. I think it's such a cool fucking Pokemon. I think it's one of the best Pokemon we've ever had in every way. Its design, its use, its typing, everything about it is pure perfection. I love Swampert. Second favorite starter we've ever had. Moving on to Gen 4. I really like Turtwig. And as mentioned before, Turtwig is the Pokemon... Gen 4 made me realize that I really like ground types, because one of my issues with Gen 4 is most of the Pokemon I actually like in this generation are ground types. The first Pokemon... like, this is the problem I have with Gen 4. Spoilers, I don't really like any of the starters aside from Turtwig, right? So I've got a grass ground type. The first Pokemon I run into and want to use is Budew. Grass poison type. The second Pokemon I want to use is the Gastrodon. Water ground type. The dragon is a dragon ground type. And then we've got the issue I'm going to have with wanting to use Krogunk, which is a fighting poison type, followed by also wanting to use Lucario, which is a steel fighting type. And there's no team that I can make in Generation 4 that's balanced. Most of the Pokemon I really like and really feel strongly about either have the ground type or have a typing of another Pokemon I feel strongly about. There's no real balance there. I like very few of the Gen 4 Pokemon. And it's one of there's several reasons why I really do not like Generation 4. While it's the only generation of Pokemon I really don't like, one of the major reasons is I do not like the majority of Gen 4 Pokemon. Turtwig, however, I really like. And over the years, it's grown on me and grown on me and grown on me and grown on me. I really actually quite like Turtwig. Would I put it higher than... Yeah, I would. I put it about here. Yeah, it's not higher than Bulbasaur. It is a lesser Bulbasaur, but I do like it. Grovyle is boring. It's better than this. But it's got the same kind of issue as these dudes, except I don't feel strongly about this line in general, as strong about this line in general, and it just looks more awkward. It's like, it looks like an incomplete Torterra. Whereas this is like the perfect medium between the two. This looks incomplete. I don't like it. Torterra, on the other hand, I really fucking like. I think it's top tier. I think it doesn't quite hit the same level as Venusaur, but if I'm going to be perfectly honest, in a purely design factor, if we're going purely design and nothing else, Torterra would actually be higher, because it's the classic World Turtle. And in fact, you know what? Yeah, I'm leaving it there, because its design is fucking amazing, and I think in general it's probably the better Pokemon. Not gonna go over well with some people, but I like, because like the thing, for many years I had an issue with Venusaur because I thought it was a lesser Ivysaur. I didn't like its face, but over the years it's grown on me. I've never had that issue with Torterra. I liked it from the start. I really like this tree behind it. There's something far more balanced and just complete about Torterra than there is about Venusaur. I think Venusaur is too symmetrical. I think Venusaur is, I don't know. But Torterra, yeah, I'm going to put it there. I think, legitimately. The only reason I'd have it there is because it's been one of my favourites for longer. But Torterra, yeah, I really like Torterra. I think its earlier stages are weaker than Venusaur, but I think overall it inches slightly ahead of Venusaur. I really like Torterra. It's a great starter. Chimchar. I don't like Chimchar. I really don't like Chimchar. I don't like this thing. I think it's ugly. I think it's really ugly. The blue on the red, I think it's ugly. And it's grown on me a little bit because of how good it is, but I really don't like it. In all honesty, yeah, this is a lot of people's favorite Pokemon, and it is without doubt the best option you can have in Gen 4. But as I've mentioned, I don't really like monkeys. In fact, have I mentioned that yet? No, I have not mentioned that yet. I don't like monkeys in Pokemon. There's one monkey I can think of that I actually like in Pokemon, and this is not it. There's something about monkeys. This actually comes in real life as well. I love animals, but monkeys and apes scare the shit out of me. And I think the reason for that is they're human, but slightly different. So a smile for us is welcoming and greeting. To a chimp, it's a threat. And they can turn so quickly. And they can be so small, yet so strong. A chimpanzee can so easily rip your arm out of your socket. They are freakishly strong. They are surprisingly fast. They screech like children. And I don't like chimpanzees. I don't like apes. I don't like fucking monkeys. They scare the shit out of me. And I think they're kind of creepy. I don't like them. I love animals, but I have a hang up with these. I do not like them. And this translates to these as well. I just do not like it. I think its design kind of clashes. It's over the top, and this was the first time I think we've had a starter. Gen 4 had this problem as well. Gen 4 has a lot of very over-designed Pokemon. Gen 4 was when the style of Pokemon started to change. And I would personally argue that Gen 4, as a generation, has the awkward growing pains of a lot of middle stage starters, where it doesn't look quite right. There's something very awkward about it, where you can see it's trying to be something, but it's not quite there. And that's what a lot of Gen 4 designs in a nutshell are. I really don't like it. Piplup is cute. I do like Piplup. Yeah, it's cute. This thing is boring. I like it more than these guys, but that's kind of it. Yeah. Nah, it's boring. I've just decided to move him back because I actually do like Torchic more than that. But it's just kind of boring. This guy's grown on me a little bit over the years, but I still don't really like it that much. And the major reason is, again, it's over-designed and it makes no sense to me. The pointed flippers with the mini claws in them, these mini claws inside the flippers look like T-Rex arms, in that they look completely fucking useless. Why do they even exist? Its crown beak that looks like a mask covering most of its face. The ore that goes down here. Like, I know why it's designed this way, because it's meant to be as streamlined as possible so it can kind of like race through the ocean like a ship. That's how a ship is designed. There are several concepts mixed together in this. We've got the Napoleon kind of like waistcoat. We've got the big like battleship design as it's swimming on its side. You know, you can see how it can go. You've got like the kingly kind of like crown here. It's got multiple concepts rolled into one, and from a pure design study aspect, it works. It's a brilliant design in terms of gathering all of these factors together. In fact, I think upon explaining it, I like it more than I do Blaziken. It works from a design concept element, but as a Pokemon itself, I think it's too busy, it's over-designed, and I really don't like it. So, yeah. Alright, Generation 5. I used to really like Smoke Snake. I do. I really like Smoke Snake. It's cute. It's memorable. Yeah. Ooh. About there. I really like Smoke Snake. I think it's cute. The problem with it is it's another it's another, not Trico, it's another, Cyndaquil, unfortunately. It's terrible. And in Generation 5, it's not as bad as Cyndaquil, but it's pretty bad. I used it the first time I played. Statistically, I choose the Grass starter first. Not always, but usually. And it's bad. And I will never use it again, because in Generation 5, Ferrothorn exists. Sawsbuck exists. There's like at least 5. I forget the names of them, but there's several really good grass type Pokemon in that game. Like very, very good grass type Pokemon in that game that you could use other than that, and a lot of them you can get pretty early. It's funny because Generation 5, in my opinion, especially Black and White 2, are without doubt the best games in the series, but they have the worst starters in the series. Spoilers. All 3 of these lines I do not like. This thing looks awkward as fuck. I do not like it. In fact, I think I do not like it to the point where I like it like... No. I probably like it more than like this, but this is generally a better design than this. What even is this? It looks like it would fall flat on its face. Those teeny tiny legs are pointless. The T-Rex arms are pointless. This is much better designed. Superior is actually pretty nice in terms of design. It's okay. It's better. Yeah, it's okay. But I like its design. It's nice to have like a pure snake star Pokemon where they didn't feel the need to kind of like give it legs and arms. But it loses legs and arms as it evolves. The prior forms would have been better being a pure snake without them. Why does it devolve? Why does it lose its legs and its arms? That makes no sense whatsoever. And its design is cool. I like it. I like it in 3D. It's definitely one of the Pokemon that look better in 3D. But the problem with it is, it's just shit. And I'll never choose it over like any other grass types in the game. Yeah, Tepig. Tepig is cute. I really like Tepig. I really like Tepig. I think, yeah, I feel pretty strongly about it, actually. I really like Tepig. I think Tepig is a really cute design, very memorable, very adorable. And then we've got this thing. Yeah. And then we've got this thing. It's arguably the best choice, but I think it's ugly. I think it's really ugly. I like it more than I like Infernape, but I think it's really, really ugly. And I don't like it. And Generation 5 contains a multitude of very, 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 very good fighting choices. I've used a Sork before, that's fantastic. I've used Darmanitan, which is basically this, but better. Generation 5 has a few really good fighting types. You don't need it. There are better options. And yeah, it's It's ugly. I really don't like it. Speaking of ugly, this dude, again, I know this guy's probably the most popular choice from this generation, in terms of starters, but I don't like it. I think it's ugly. I think it's very, very ugly. Yeah, I don't like it. This guy's a bit better. This guy's pretty cool. Nothing really wrong with this guy. He's got a lot of personality. I like its kind of like conch shell shuriken thing. Quite cool. But I don't really feel strongly about it, but it's quite cool. And then we've got this guy, who is okay, but it's boring. Yeah. It's typically my choice. And do you know why it's typically my choice? Because it's the best HM slave in the game. In fact, it's the only one that's really worth anything in the game. That's right. In Generation 5, I use my starter as a HM slave. He goes right at the back of my party, and Lillipup is my starter, because Lillipup is one of the best Pokemon in the game. It's one of the best normal types to ever, like, early route normal types to ever exist. It's one of the very few good early route normal types to ever exist. Lillipup is fan-fucking-tastic. And also, because of the way Black and White is set up, at least with the first game, where the first gym you face actually purposely uses a Pokemon that is weak against yours. Sorry, the Pokemon that is strong against yours, and at that point in the game, that matters, where they give you a elemental monkey of the opposite type of yours in order. So basically, you have to use the elemental monkey in order to get past that bit. That just gives me another reason not to like the starters, because I do not fucking like the elemental monkeys from Generation 5 either. So the start of the game in Generation 5 is actually one of the weakest starts for me, because it starts at the same time every single time. I choose this motherfucker to turn into my HM slave down in the line, and I catch a Lillipup that becomes my starter. And that is every single time I start that game now. And Generation 5, without doubt, has the weakest starters in the entire series. And considering the fact that I also think Generation 5 to be the strongest games in the series, that should say a lot about the games themselves. But the starters are trash. I hate them. I don't hate them. I used to hate them a lot more than I do, but I really don't like them. Alright, moving on to Generation 6. Chespin's cute. I like Chespin. Don't know how much I like Chespin, but less than Squirtle. Less than that. About there. Yeah. Chespin's cute. I like Chespin. The less spoken about this ugly motherfucker, the better. I like it more than him. I like it more than him. Yeah, in the Pokemon that deserve the... In fact, you know what? I like it more than this. I like it more than this. I like it more than this. I like it more than these. It's going there. I actually like that a lot more than I thought I did. Yeah, it's the top of dislike. It's got an almost... It's not like just ugly. It's got more of a rounded appearance, and round Pokemon actually do kind of look quite nice a lot of the time. Like, Speel is very popular for a reason. Clodsai is popular for a reason. I like it more than I used to. But... Yeah, it's not Pig Knight. It's a lot better than that, but nah. This dude I really like. I think that Chestnut is actually really cool. A lot of people don't like it, and I don't know why, but Chestnut is really, really cool. It's not my usual choice, but it's my secondary choice, typically speaking. I like it more than him. It's going up in top tier. Ooh, I'm a bit stuck around here. Who would I rather use? Yeah, I'd rather use that. I think this is where we're stopping. Yeah, this is where we're stopping. I'm actually surprised by how much I like him. But yeah, I quite like Chestnut. He's a really cool Pokemon. It appeals to my interests. It appeals to my design sensibilities. I like the shape of it. I like the color combination, and it's just generally a very, very good Pokemon. Unfortunately, it's overshadowed in Gen 6 because of the Mega Starters from Generation 1, but I do really like Chespin. So, there we go. Here we go! Boop. right up here. Yeah, right up here. About there. I really like Fennekin. Fennekin is by far the strongest fire-type starter in the series for me. I really like Fennekin. I think it's adorable. Keep in mind that I'm also a big fan of Vulpix, Ninetales, and Eevee. So there's something about that design that just works for me. I think it's absolutely fucking adorable. It was my option from my major choice from Gen 1. I think it's really fucking cool. Fantastic Pokemon. And oddly enough, Gen 6 is also the generation in which the fire Pokemon is not the most popular choice. It almost always is. In fact, I think it's the only generation in which it isn't the most popular choice. So, yeah. And next we've got Brixen, which, much like Grovyle, is one of the coolest middle stage evolutions to ever exist. In fact, looking at it now, I actually think it's cooler than Grovyle. Yeah. There's something very complete about it. It's fantastic. I love it. It looks really cool. It looks really graceful. It looks really mystical and elegant and beautiful. I love it. It's one of my like favorite like starters. And this is where a lot of people drop off. A lot of people hate Brixen, whatever. Like I forget its name actually. That's Brixen, isn't it? A lot of people hate this thing. I fucking love it. I think it is gorgeous. I think it is mystical and beautiful and elegant and intelligent looking all rolled into one. It is one of the coolest starters we've ever had in my opinion. It also has the same cool factor as Charizard, as having a cool kind of like black, it almost looks like an autumn forest on fire. It's this grey, black, shiny with like red highlights. It's gorgeous. Reminds me a lot of Ninetales that also has a similar kind of like grey blue, like with Ninetales it's like grey blue, with this it's like grey red, like dark grey red. It is gorgeous, mystical, shiny. I love it. Delphox, that's its name. I love it. I think it's one of the coolest starters we've ever had, and is almost always my choice going through that game. I fucking adore it. Froakie, the most popular choice by a country mile. And that's mainly because this is our second Charizard. We'll get to him in a minute. I like Froakie, but not that much. I do like Froakie. This dude is a lot cooler. I mean, this is pretty fucking cool. I like this dude a lot. Yeah, I put him about there. And then we've got Greninja, which I like, but not that much. Greninja was the second Charizard we ever had. I honestly thought that we were going to get another Charizard with him. He even got a special form with Ash Greninja. He was apparently the Pokemon Ash was the most bonded with than any other Pokemon in his life, including Pikachu. Really? Okay. Greninja was huge, and it was mainly because of Protean. That's why. Its ability, its hidden ability in competitive was fucking broken. So much they nerfed it big time in later generations, and it's still really good. It also, again, had the same the same cool Charizard shiny of being a fucking black ninja frog. It appeals to the kind of like boyish charm love of the day that Charizard got. It's a really cool design. Gen 6 is one of the best roasters we've had in terms of starters. It is up there with Gen 3. Gen 6 is really up there. In fact, Gen 6 is the most underrated game in the series. I will sit here and defend Gen 6 until the goddamn milk tanks come home. It not only was it one of the best, not only did it have one of the best roasters, like starters in the series, it had one of the best complete roasters in the series. Like almost all the new Pokemon in this generation were top fucking tier. It introduced what would become my favorite Pokemon, which was Harlucha. It had the biggest national dex of any Pokemon game to date. And it had the best online functionality. Playing Gen 6 felt like being part of a community. Especially if you're watching a streamer and you had them on your thing, you could send them O-powers, you could interact with them while they're streaming. It was great. They introduced Wonder Trade, introduced Super Training. Gen 6 was the most complete feeling Pokemon game we have ever had. Yes, the basic goddamn world was kind of like Gen 1 all over again. The biggest problem with Gen 6 was when we started to constantly call back to Gen 1 fucking all the time. Gen 6 was the first Pokemon game in which it never let Gen 1 alone. Like, Gen 5 was the last Pokemon game that felt like its own thing. Ever since Gen 6 onwards, every new Pokemon game has constantly called back to the past without being its own thing. And Gen 6 kind of started that, even going as far as having like a Snorlax in the middle of the road, having the Gen 1 starters, all this kind of thing. Had way too much of that. But in terms of what Gen 6 added, it's one of the strongest games in the series. I actually really like Gen 6. This is a really uncommon opinion, but I'm going to go as far as to say that Gen 6 will be another Gen 5. People fucking hated Gen 5 when it came out. It's now really trendy to say it's one of the best games in the series. Gen 6 is going to be the same. People hate it, but people will look back at Gen 6 in times and say it's one of the best games in the series. And I'm saying this now, much like I said with Gen 5 back in the day. Gen 6 is going to be one of the best games in the series. It's going to finally get the recognition it deserves. Gen 6 was fantastic. And it also had some of the best starters. I love Gen 6. Moving on. Round Boy Rowlet. I really like this dude. He's not as good design. He's not as better than Brixton, but I love Rowlet, dude. He's this adorable little round boy. He's got the same appeal as Feel. You feel like you could just pick up this dude and give him a hug. And for years, I have loved owls. Ever since I held a barn owl as a kid and felt its like silky, gorgeous feathers and the way it looked into your eyes and kind of like understood you, I fell in love with owls. And again, it's brown, beige color mixed with a little bit of green actually makes it stand out in the sea of grass types that are all basically green and yellow. It really stands out. It really stands out. I really like its design. I think it's adorable. I forget its name, but the evolved form is not as good. I'd say it's about here, but it's still fucking top tier. I really, really adore this thing. I think it's got a lot of personality. It's not as cute as Rowlet. It's nowhere near as cute as Rowlet, but I do really like it. Definitely. I think it's got a really good design. I love its color combination. Brown, green, white. It's a great color combination. It looks beautiful. It's really easy on the eyes. And then we've got the Decidueye, which is currently my favorite starter to ever exist. This thing feels like it was made for me. A hooded, brown and green owl that what I'm going to explain is one of the best fucking things. Like, this is one of the best concepts they've ever come up with Pokemon. It uses its own wing as a bow and its own feathers as arrows. That is amazing. That is beautiful. That is one of the coolest concepts they've ever come up with this series. I adore the Decidueye. I think it's my favorite. It's my favorite starter. It's my favorite starter, and I still actually have my original Sun and Moon one currently in my Pokebank. It was with me in my end kind of like post game team in Sword and Shield as well. I loved it that much. I brought it forward as soon as I could. I think it's gorgeous. I think its design is fucking incredible. It's one of the best, most amazing, sleekest fucking designs we've ever had. One of the concepts we've ever had. I love its color combination. The only thing that sucked about the Decidueye is it was the worst choice. It's not only the worst choice in Sun and Moon, but it is one of the worst choices of Pokemon in any fucking game, in terms of starters in any game. And it's not because it's bad. It's a really good Pokemon. The problem is that Gen 7 contains so many dark types. Everything new Bite, everything new Pursuit, everything new some form of dark move. And as soon as it evolved into Decidueye, it got weaker. it just gained weaknesses. It didn't really gain anything but weaknesses. And in its original generation, it really suffered because of the ghost typing. It's a real shame. Especially in the generation that also gave us Mimikyu and Alolan Marowak, which are some of the best Pokemon in the game. It really suffered because of that. It was undeniably the worst choice, which is a real shame. But in future games, I feel as if it'll thrive. And I'm bringing it over again to Scarlet and Violet when I can. I love the thing. I really want to see what it'll look like when it's got like the new both walking and flying animations. And like the new kind of like what you call it, the new textures. I really want to see what it looks like because I think it's gorgeous already. I want to see how gorgeous it's going to look with the new Scarlet and Violet textures. I adore this Pokemon. It's not only my top starter, but it is like one of my top 10 Pokemon. It's, in fact, I think it's in like the top 5 at this point. I love it so much. Litten. This is without question the best starter to choose in the game. The Fire Dark type. Very, very good Pokemon. Its design is sleek and enjoyable, and you can really see when compared to the rest of the Pokemon now, like this really stands out. Gen 7 was when the style of Pokemon really started to change. A few people say it's Gen 6, but Gen 6 had a bit of growing pains because of their first introduction to 3D. Gen 7 was when designs really started to change. Yeah, about there. Yeah, I really like Litten. Very sleek looking Pokemon. I loved it in the anime. This is it, but cooler. Yeah, it's up there. Yeah, about there. And then we've got this guy, which I am in the camp with a lot of other people, where its final form isn't as cool, but I still think it's very, very, very cool. Yeah, I put it about there. I think that's right. It's a great Pokemon. I like this again. This is top tier. Like, I still think that its final form is lesser than its other forms, but they're all in top tier. Litten is fantastic. It's the best option for the game if you want an easy time. This is what you got. The crotch fire is a bit awkward. You knew they were going to go for firefighting up again for like the fourth time in a row, up until somebody pointed out we can't do that again. You know that's what they were going to do initially until they changed it. I honestly feel like that's honestly what they were going to do with it. Because even if it's not fighting in terms of type, it's fighting in terms of theme. But which is tired at this point. But no, it's very, very good. It's a really cool Pokemon, and it was definitely the favorite that generation, as fire almost always is. Next we have Potlio. This Pokemon gets a lot of bad rep, but I actually think it's really cool. I'm gonna put it about here. Yeah, not as good as Cyndaquil, but yeah, I think it's cute. I think it's adorable. It was great in the anime. Really cute. I like it a lot. This dude, however, is kind of ugly. Yeah, it is kind of ugly. Do you know what? I keep thinking this, and I'm gonna do it. I'm sorry. There we go. That's better. Every time I scroll down there, I look at it, and I'm like, nah. Okay, that feels better. That feels more balanced. It's really ugly. No. This thing, however, Primarina is fucking gorgeous. And again, Gen 7, one of the best roasters we've ever had. I really have liked the starters over this period. I think they're absolutely fucking gorgeous. Where am I putting this? Ooh, yeah, I like it more than Tysplosion. I do like it more than that. It's not as good as Chestnut though. There we go. I think that's around the same place. Which, Chestnut, Greninja, like they're all in different categories here. Like, I feel really strongly about this dude. I really like this dude. Oh, wait, that's a different... yeah. No, really strongly about her. That's right. We feel really strongly about Delphox. I really like that, just not as much. And, yeah. So, Gen 3 is kind of, like, split. But Gen 6 is split. But Gen 7 is mostly up top. We've got one right at the top. We've got the next two in top tier. So yeah, I would say that Gen 7 is a little bit stronger than Gen 6 for me then, because most of them are up here. There's only really this one that drops the ball, but they're very good. Yeah. But yeah, Gen 7's fantastic. And again, the starter, the Pokedex from Gen 7 is a major reason why I actually like Gen 7 so much. I also really loved Z-moves. I thought Z-moves were so much fun and are a major reason why I go back. They can run the gambit of being really fucking fun and badass, and then they can run the gambit of being really fucking stupid, such as Magikarp using Gigavolt, like using the big tackle fucking move. It's fucking hilarious. But yeah, Z moves are great. The only problem with Generation 7 was that it never let go of your fucking hand, and this has become a consistent problem throughout the rest of the series. Although they dropped it a little bit with Scarlet and Violet, it doesn't hold your hand and never let you go as much as the prior two games have done. Although it does at the start. The start of Generation fucking 9, Scarlet and Violet, they just go on and on and on and on and on and on and on. But once you're set free, you really can just do whatever the fuck you want, and it doesn't hold your wrist and drag you through it as much as it does. But Gen 7, I complain about Gen 4 having a terrible, slow, and boring start. But Gen 7? Oh my god. Gen 7, they grab onto your wrist, and they never let it go the entire fucking time. It improved a little bit in Ultra Sun and Moon, but in the original Sun and Moon, it was a fucking nightmare. It was just, right, this is the entire game. Listen to us talk at you for hours upon hours upon hours. No, you can't go off the beaten track. You're coming this way. It was terrible. But the roster, some of the best Pokemon that they've ever made came in Generation 7. Amazing designs. Alright, moving on to Generation 8. Grookey is one of the strongest I feel. I do not like monkeys in Pokemon. I've said this before. Except Grookey. I really like Grookey. I think it's a fantastic design. I think it's adorable. I love its Furby looking mouth. In fact, yeah, it looks like a Furby. I think that's why I like it so much. Its beak and like the little mask, it looks like a Furby. And that's like the major reason I like it. But it's cute. It's cute. It's got a lot of personality. I really like it. The official art looks better at this than anything else, but I don't really like it that much. Yeah, I don't really like it that much. It's okay, but it just does kind of look like somebody's got a Grookey, grabbed its head and gone, and that's kind of it. And then we've got Gorilla Boom. It's a drummer ape. You'd think I'd like it a lot more than I actually do, but I don't really. It's just kind of bland. It's just kind of boring. It's missing something. It's eh. In fact, the mythical Pokemon that they added in that generation with the exact same fucking typing that's also a monkey, I actually really like. It's the only monkey other than Grookey that I quite like. I've never used it because I've never got the distribution of it, but I really like it. I forget the name of it, but I think it's a really cool design. It's so much better than this. It's just boring. Speaking of boring, by far the most popular Pokemon of this generation, which again is the fucking fire type. I don't dislike it, but it is boring as fuck. It's just a bunny. I think the only Pokemon in the history of Pokemon that is more of a not a Pokemon than this and this guy is in fact, you know what, I dislike it. Yeah, I do dislike it. Is Flamigo, and I like Flamigo a hell of a lot more than I like this guy. It's just a bunny. You could take this and you could take this and you could put it in literally any other anime and it would work. There's nothing about it that stands out. It's extremely bland. The second form stands out a little bit better, but I still don't like it. I think it's in fact no, it looks worse in game. I'm putting it here. And I don't like it at all. I think it's extremely boring. However, both of those Pokemon are a lot better than what we're gonna get into. I dislike Sobble. I like it more than these guys, but that's about it. This is the ugliest Pokemon we've ever had. And now we've got this dude. Yeah, that was quite the jump. This fucking ugly-ass emo down here is the ugliest Pokemon we've ever had. And when you're uglier than this fucker and this fucker, that says a lot. That says a lot. This is the most ugly, unappealing shit design that they have ever had. And when it's a lizard, me, the big lizard guy, when it's a lizard, no. However, Inteleon, I think is really cool. I really like Inteleon. I think it is a badass. I never saw it in the anime. I never watched the Sun and Moon anime. It's not on Pokemon TV. They stopped uploading to Pokemon TV after Sun and Moon for some reason, so I've not seen any of this prior generation. I'm gonna have to catch up. I'm gonna have to find where they're streaming it somewhere. But I'm really hoping that in the anime it uses it. Because here's the thing. It is sleek as fuck. Keep in mind that what a lot of these Pokemon have in common, with the exception of Swampert, every single one of these Pokemon is sleek. Like, around here. It's like, okay, so this applies to this one, this one, this one. Like, most of them. Most of them are sleek. They're mystical looking. They're confident looking. They're agile looking. They're powerful looking, but not in a traditional brute way. I think the only ones that are like that are probably Swampert. Even this looks faster than is typical. Like, it is super sleek. It's like it's got the only Dynamax that I actually enjoy using, because it's just this big fucking. It uses its tail as a sniper tower, and it just sits at the top and snipes. It's awesome. It uses its fucking like fingers as like pistols. It shoots like a. It goes like this. It goes to shoot like a water bullet. It's great. As it jumps, it can extend its arms to have like a glider underneath. So it's got the same appeal as the Grovyle here. Just it's a final stage. It's not a second stage, so it's actually good. Everything about this Pokemon I fucking love. It's even got the 007 number in the regional Pokedex. Beautiful. It's brilliant, and I feel as if I'm the only person in the world that doesn't just like Inteleon, but fucking loves it. It's just a shame that in order to get to one of the best starters we've ever had, we have to go through two of the worst stages. Because here's the thing. There is no Pokemon on this list that has that. There's Pokemon that drop off when they evolve. And there's Pokemon that have, like, weaker stages in the middle. But there's no Pokemon, I think, on this list that has, or in general, that has really can't fucking stand, really don't like, brilliant. It's the biggest jumping quality, and it's the only starter from this generation that I actually like. I don't really like any of the others. I don't hate these. Like, here's the thing. I don't hate him. I like him better than a lot of the others. I don't hate him, but he's just boring. And I actively dislike this guy. I think he's so fucking dull. I don't think he's ugly, which is what I think this is, but he's so fucking boring. For a final stage to look like just an NPC from any other anime is just Alright, we're on to the new generation now. This has been a long-ass video. We've got Sprigatito. I won't remember the names for most of these. I like Sprigatito. I think it's really cute. Definitely cuter. Oh, is it better than Litten? No, it's not. It's not better than Litten. It's got the same appeal, but Litten is a lot cooler. Litten is more interesting to look at than the Weed Cat. But Sprigatito is adorable. I really like Sprigatito. It was my choice. Again, statistically, I choose the Grass Starter. I don't do it on purpose. It's just what I ended up with. I forget the name of this guy. Here's the thing. Alright, I'm going to go on a bit of a rant with this. There's been a growing trend since, I'd say, Generation 6 onwards, where people bitch and fucking moan about Pokemon that stand up on two feet. It really heightened up with Incineroar. Despite being the most popular choice, most people believe this is the best, and I do as well. But it really heightened up with that. And it's just grown and grown and grown like a raging fire ever since. And I'm gonna be honest. I think this is one of only 3 middle evolutions that look badass. It's not on the same level as Grovyle, and it's not as the same level as Brixen. But this thing is really fucking cool for the exact same goddamn reason Grovyle is. And the only reason Grovyle is higher is because I have a soft spot for lizards more than I do have a soft spot for cats. It is so confident. It is so cool. It's got such a personality. Anyone that loved Trico and Grovyle in the anime should love this thing. Because it's got the exact same appeal. It uses this weird plant yo-yo as a weapon. It's just this little, yeah, I'm a badass. Yo-yo powers. It's cool. It's confident. It's relaxed. It's badass. I love it. And I'm really fucking sick of people being so goddamn frightened of being called a furry that they're like, oh, it stands up on 2 feet. It's shit now. Like, no, it's great. At this point with Pokemon, there are so many people that are terrified of being called a furry. It really does have the same energy of the guy that's frightened of being called gay. Oh, I'm not gonna wipe my ass because that's gay. I'm not gonna use like face skin products because that's gay. Nah, it's just poor hygiene, mate. There's nothing gay about it. You're just poor hygiene. And also, what the fuck is wrong with being gay? Oh, it's gay. Fuck off. You're just insecure. That's really what it comes down to. And it's the same thing with this. You're just insecure. Oh, I'm not a furry. I'm not... No, you're just insecure. When you like, I get people doing it for a joke, but there's a lot of people out there that are so serious about it. You're just insecure, dude. You can like something. Like, a great example with this. Like, I joke about the whole Vaporeon thing, but Vaporeon has been my favorite evolution for a long time. And is a major factor as to why Eevee was my favorite Pokemon up until I finally just accepted that, like, Harlucha was. And it's not because I want to fuck it. The whole Vaporeon thing is hilarious. It's funny. But I like Vaporeon because it's got, again, it's sleek. It's beautiful. It's confident. It's a water type. There's a similar trend coming through a lot of the Pokemon that I really, really like, I'm noticing. And Vaporeon's great. I don't give a fuck that it's got a bit of a meme thing. You know, I love God of War. Okay, yes, the internet has had an effect on me at this point. But I've loved God of War for a long time because it's a really fucking good Pokemon. The fact that it's got porn made of it doesn't change that. When it added the furry type, it got even better. God of War is without doubt one of the best Pokemon in the game that isn't a legendary because the furry type added so much to it. The fact that there's porn of it and people have a bit of a mild obsession over it doesn't change that. You know what I mean? This is a great fucking... it's got... What's it called? Like... I forget its name. It's got like a cat pun, something like that. Like Feliday or Nyan or something like that. But it's very, very good. It's a brilliant Pokemon. This dude, I feel, will have the biggest change over time. I really like it. I think it's got a lot of personality, and I think Gen 9 has by far one of the strongest roasters. So that brings it up to Generation 3, Generation 6, Generation 7, Generation 9. With Generation... Generation 8 dropping the ball. I like this guy a lot, but I do not think it's Adore levels. I think it drops a little bit. I'm gonna put it here. I really do like it. We'll see if time changes, because Pokemon, when a new generation comes out, Pokemon tends to be higher. And then over time, the excitement dulls. But as it stands, I think this is really cool. Fuecoco, again, the most popular choice by a mile. Although, to be fair, in this generation, a lot of the fandoms kind of split. Whereas, unfortunately, Quaxley tends to get the short stick. But it does have its fans. This is really cute. And it is the first Pokemon in ages that looks like more than its inspiration. Okay, yeah, it's a crocodile, but it's not the same as Totodile. This is not the same. This is more of a crocodile than that. And in the more modern generation, Pokemon tend to look far more like their inspiration than they used to. So the fact there's a Generation 2 Pokemon that looks more like its inspiration than the newer Pokemon says a lot. It's not quite Adore levels, but it is up there. Because of its extremely derpy nature, I do really like it. I put it about here. I think Vaikoko by far has the most personality of any newly introduced starter we've had in years. I don't think any other starter has as much inherent personality than Fuecoco, with the exception of Trico and Totodile. Also, they're all lizards, which is interesting. But that would actually make a really good combination, actually. Sceptile, Feraligatr, and Skeledirge. It's really good. I do really, really like it. It's got a lot of personality. Fantastic Pokemon. Really good. Very cute. This thing is ugly as sin. It's not as ugly as a lot of the other ones. I do like it more, but it does have the same kind of problem about there. Yeah, I do dislike it. Skeledirge. This is difficult. It's the only one I've not used on a playthrough, but I have used it. And I think, now that I've used all three of the starters from Scarlet and Violet, I think Fuecoco is going to be the one I'm going to choose more often than the others. Purely because I think this thing is very, very, very cool. You know what? Yeah, it just reaches the Adore levels. There's several reasons for this. I didn't care for it initially. It was the one I was the least interested in, but I've not even gone through a full playthrough with it yet. And it's definitely the one that has stuck out to me. The common opinion is correct with this one, I think. The reason why it sticks out is because it's really interesting. For one, it's on all fours, which, whilst it being bitching and complaining, is a rarity now. We don't get that nearly as often as we used to. But it's the singing. Alligators sing when they're mating. They communicate through vibrations in the water, and they can actually make a surprising number of different sounds. Alligators and crocodiles are far more interesting than people give them credit for. And considering the fact that they are a life form, much like sharks, that have existed for millennia, with very, very little change whatsoever, makes them a very, very rare kind of animal with a near perfect design. There are very few animals that are well suited for their environment as like sharks and crocodiles or alligators, because there's very little change. They've not needed to evolve in very many ways over these many years. The only difference is they've got smaller over the years, and that's kind of it. They've been around since the dinosaurs. They are that successful as animals. There's a reason for that. I love reptiles in general. Reptiles, birds, foxes, that kind of thing. You can see kind of like the through line here. Like, these are very much animals in real life that I enjoy, as well as just Pokemon. I'm going to put it higher a little bit still, I think. Do I like it more than Mudkip? Yes. Do I like it more than Trico? Yes. Do I like it more than Fennekin? Yes. Not as much as not more than Totodile, though. Totodile has more history. But it's got this little firebird on its nose. Again, crocodiles in the wild will often have these little birds that will clean the parasites off the crocodile and eat them. The alligator, this happens all the fucking time. You'll find these birds on different other animals, but again, there's photographs of them there with them sitting on top of crocodiles. So we've got that little helper. It pulls out a mic and it sings, and you hear it's like kind of sound coming from it. Again, very like a cuter version of a crocodile thing. There is so much concept that has gone into this design that is far more than what we're used to with Pokemon. And unlike Rillaboom, unlike the Soccer Bunny, unlike even Inteleon, I just like it more. It's a concept that works. It feels more than an animal with a human trait. It's not a wizard fox. It's not a secret agent lizard. It's a crocodile that exists in a magical world. It's got such a fucking cool concept. It's got such a cool design that is kind of unique in the modern era of Pokemon, and it is legitimately a really good Pokemon. Might be one of the best options. I don't know in this game just yet. It's kind of hard to tell because of the kind of open world nature of this one. It's really good. It's one of the best designs they've made in years. I absolutely love it. I think it's fantastic. And considering the fact that it's the last one for me to use, and it's the only one for me to not use in the playthrough, and I still feel more strongly about this than the other three, that should speak volumes. Up next, Quaxly. Quaxly kind of got the short end of the stick, but initially it was the Pokemon I was going with. It was because it reminded me of JoJo. Let's see, where are we putting it? We're putting it about here. I do like Quaxly. I think it's the weakest one of the because again, it's got that kind of. The problem with Quaxly is, as much as I like it, I've got to be consistent. It would fit in any other anime. It doesn't stand out enough. It doesn't look like a Pokemon. It would fit in any other anime. This thing is boring. I don't like it. It just feels like an awkward combination between the two. It feels like it exists purely to connect Quaxly to its final form. Don't like it. But then we got this dude. This is very polarizing, and quite frankly, I'm just going to be honest here. This is the most left-wing I'm ever going to sound on YouTube. But I honestly feel like the reason why a lot of people don't like this is because they've got a mild bit of homophobia. They've got that same... Do you know the attitude I was talking about before? Where it's like, I'm not gay, I'm not gay, I'm not gay. We get it. You're the most masculine of men and you're super secure. Fuck off and grow up. It's got that element. There's a lot of people that don't like this purely because it's too flamboyant and it looks gay. That's why they don't like it. Let's be honest. It looks like a Mardi Gras dancer. You can't tell it here, but in the game, it's shaking its hips and its peacock kind of feathers glow with like water as it moves. It's got so much personality and it absolutely loves its life. It's great. The way it walks is the most flamboyant kind of like wide arm walk. It's extremely effeminate. But it doesn't feel it doesn't look like a Pokemon that is a woman. So again, Palmerina looks like a Pokemon that would be female. Delphox looks like a Pokemon that would be female. This looks like a Pokemon that would be male. And because of that, it sticks out. Because it's by far the gayest Pokemon we've ever had, and honestly, I love it. I think it is dripping with personality. Would I have Torterra over it? Probably, but yeah, I think it's absolutely oozing with personality. Do you know? I think time will tell, but I think these two could flip-flop. I don't quite adore it, but I do love it. I do love it. We've not got a Pokemon like this yet. And I feel as if there's a lot... In fact, one of the Let's Plays I'm watching is a guy that is very, very, flaming gay. And he's fucking funny. The things he's had... Like, he's got that typical, oh my god, girl, kind of, like, you know, thing. And the comments he makes, he is so fucking funny. It's one of the most entertaining Let's Plays I've watched. Like, purely because of the player. Not like Alpha Rad is one of my favorite Let's Players for Pokemon. He makes these brilliantly crafted, edited kind of like compilations when he does Let's Plays. They're by far the best Pokemon Let's Plays out there. They're so fucking funny. But a lot of that's his comments, but most of it is the editing. This dude that I'm watching right now, I forget his name, but it's purely his comments. He has got such a funny wit. And yeah, it's like he's using this Pokemon and it just suits him so well. And I like that we have a flamboyantly gay kind of like carnival dancer. Every single time this guy's on the screen, I hear the Animal Crossing music. You know, he's brilliant. I love him. And he's going to be the secondary option, I think, in future playthroughs. I think Fuecoco is going to be my main option, which is weird because he's been my last option, but I think he will be my main option for the future. But using Quaxly, I like it. A lot of people are disappointed by it, but I honestly feel as if it deserves more love than it gets. Ironic, actually, looking back at it now, that my initial choice is probably the one that stands out to me the least. But all of these are really, really high. it might actually be the strongest entry we've had, considering how high all of these are. The only, again, much like with, I forget which one it is, but this is the only negative side of it, and a lot of people do like this. It's one of the better looking derpy middles, but I'd rather have like Croconor and Marshtomp. These are just nicer looking to me than this. It just looks kind of off. And again, I think it may be the arms. Like, at least these guys look like they could function. This doesn't. And it's kind of like the same issue I have with a lot of the others. But no, I'm very, very happy with that list. So yeah, these are the top tier in my opinion. And obviously you can tell that the strongest entry here is Decidueye. And it's probably why Decidueye and Fennekin are really up there, because I adore every single stage of it. You know, Swampert drops the ball. Trico drops the ball on its final stage, which is a real shame. It's why I choose Swampert over it. Inteleon is terrible until its final form. This guy is pretty good all the way, but it's not quite on the same level. It drops the ball. Again, really good starter. Very good end. Middle form. So we've got a nice variety here, but I think you can see the kind of through line here. You can see the through line here. I like sleek, confident, mystical, like majestic looking Pokemon. That's what I go for. And again, this has that sleek, confident, mystic. The only thing this doesn't have is it's agile. I like a lot of agile looking Pokemon. That doesn't look agile. I think the only exceptions to this is probably Swampert. Swampert does not look mystical, it does not look sleek, it does not look agile, and it doesn't really look that confident either. It kind of looks derpy. But yeah, like at least Feraligatr looks, you know, confident, but that's the only outlier here, which is weird. But every single one of these has several of those qualities, or they're just really fucking cute. But yeah, so there's my final list of like all the stages of all the stars. This has gone on for fucking ever. I hope you've enjoyed this. This has been really fun to make. And yeah, let me know your thoughts down there. Which one of these options made you want to kill me? I'm assuming it's going to be Infernape and this dude. Because these are some of the most popular Pokemon to ever exist, especially Infernape. Blaziken's up there as well, but especially Infernape. Like, this shit right here will make people want to end my goddamn existence. But I don't like it. I don't like monkeys, so blame me. I don't like monkeys. I've got to hang up with monkeys. But yeah, this is fun. This has been fun. I'm really happy with this. I think this is about right. Keep in mind that I do not hate any Pokemon except 2. So even these, like, I don't like this, but I don't actively hate it, because it doesn't ruin a Pokemon. The 2 Pokemon I actually hate in Pokemon is Licky Licky, because believe it or not, Lickitung was one of my favorite Pokemon back in Generation 1. It's not been a Pokemon I've considered for a long time, but I still hate Licky Licky. And Rhyperior, because to this day, Rhydon and Rhyhorn are some of my all-time favorite Pokemon. And if Pokemon existed, they would be one of the Pokemon that I would want to have in real life. I think there's something very endearing about them. I feel as if I could hug them, but I also feel as if they're both cute and powerful at the same time. And then we've got Rhyperior, which is the Pokemon equivalent of the movie The Fly. It's like Rhydon used a teleporter with a brick wall and became that abomination. It is hideous. It is disgusting. It loses all the appeal of Rhydon. The only benefit of its existence is I can now use an Eviolite on Rhydon, and usually do when I use one. It's terrible. I fucking hate it. And the only reason I have one is to finish the Pokedex. I hate it so much. It ruined one of my favorite all-time Pokemon. One of the most memorable Pokemon for me that I use in pretty much every opportunity I have. But they're the only Pokemon I hate. There's a lot of Pokemon I dislike, and there's an even greater number of Pokemon I don't care about. But the only 2 Pokemon I actively hate is Rhydon. I love Rhydon. Is Rhyperior I fucking despise Rhyperior, and I really hate Licky Licky. But outside of that, yeah. Again, Gen 4. Do not like Generation 4. Until next time, guys. Hope you enjoyed.